Ryan's legacy is etched into eternity. Thank you.
President Trump honoring slain Navy SEAL Ryan Owens in his presidential address. We'll tell you how the speech was received and talk with Vice President Pence about the political climate.
What an idiot. I mean, we got to watch this idiot for, an hour and 9 minutes.
No matter what President Trump says, the haters will hate. We'll take a look at that.
I have ordered the Department of Homeland Security to create an office to serve American victims. The office is called VOICE, Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement.
Also ahead, an interesting question. Does the Democratic Party have any credibility left? Caution. You are about to enter the No Spin Zone. The factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. President Trump's speech to Congress, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. It was well received. 78% of those watching the speech felt it was positive, just 21% negative, according to a CNN Snap poll. Also, when asked if the president made you feel more optimistic or pessimistic, 69% said optimistic, just 28% pessimistic. Now, Snap polls like that are based mostly on emotion. And the sample was 33% Republican, 28% Democrat, 39% Independent. But there's no question that fair-minded people came away from the speech impressed, at least most of them. But of course, that didn't stop the anti-Trump brigade.
It will be a notable thing that the president spent a big portion of what was, in effect, a State of the Union trying to, tell the country what vicious, murdering criminals immigrants are.
He relished saying those words just to stick it to Islam, to make sure that they knew that they were all a danger to the United States.
What an idiot. I mean, we got to watch this idiot for, an hour and 9 minutes. He just says one hateful thing after the other. He's so embarrassing.
Interesting word, hateful. It's embarrassing, isn't it? When you hear something like that, it's embarrassing. Well, let me correct that. It's not embarrassing. It's sad. Summing up, President Trump helped himself greatly last night. His base applauded his presentation throughout. Independents broke his way. And he gained credibility among some of those who might have been doubtful. And that's a memo. Now for the top story, we're pleased to have Vice President Mike Pence joining us now from Washington. I'd like to get some specifics tonight, Mr. Vice President. Let's start with problem solving. You did that very well as governor of Indiana. You solved a lot of problems in that state. So let's start with sanctuary cities. What do you think the solution to that is?
Well, I think it's taking a strong stand for the rule of law in this country was a centerpiece of the president's message that you just said has resonated all across this country about respecting the rule of law. It begins with building a wall, border security, but internal enforcement and rejecting sanctuary cities.
But how do you
as the
reject?
Policy of the United States is key.
You know the governor of California, the governor of Washington State, all right? They're not going to cooperate with you and Homeland Security. They're not. So now that you have your attorney general in place, is there a plan to convince the sanctuary city people to cooperate?
Well, I think you can just rest assured that the agenda that President Trump laid out last night, including all of the elements that he's committed to end illegal immigration and bring sanctuary cities to an end, is a part of that agenda, is we're going to use the broadest range of methods and resources of the federal government to make that happen.
I'm taking you, you're speaking generally, but I assume you're talking about federal money being denied, states and cities that don't cooperate with Homeland Security. I assume you're talking about that. You can't send tanks in. You can't force them to do it, but you can hurt them financially. So I assume that's on the table.
Well, look, we're going to work closely with the Congress in moving legislation to fill out the president's commitment for border security and internal enforcement. I know sanctuary cities is going to be a part of that, but I know the president is going to evaluate every option that we have in terms of the authority of the federal government to end a practice that is really, it is not contributing to the well-being of the nation or the safety and security of our people.
Okay. There was a lunch yesterday in the White House. You were not there. I was not there. So the two most charismatic people in the United States weren't invited. But it was It was anchor people and President Trump. And the anchor people came out and they were talking amongst themselves saying, gee, it was a kinder, gentler president who may now give law-abiding illegal aliens, that is people who, yes, they crossed here illegally, but they have since been here, not caused trouble. Maybe he'll give them a break. Maybe there'll be a pathway of immigration. We didn't hear that in the speech, but is that a possibility in a Trump administration?
We're focusing, as the president has said repeatedly, on removing criminals who represent a threat to our family, who also are illegal immigrants from this country. And then, as the president said in Arizona last summer, then we'll see about some of these other issues and the remaining population. But we're going to enforce the law, uphold the rule of law, and he's going to continue the vigorous efforts to do that.
All right, so what I'm hearing is it's possible, once the border wall and the enforcement kicks in, that an examination of people who are law-abiding, they might get some kind of break.
Well, you know, you could ask the president what his perspective is on that the next time you all visit. But what I can tell you is that before we get to any of that, President Trump and our administration are committed to following through on the things the American people agree on.
The president mentioned Chicago last night as a violent crime situation. Again, are there discussions, specific discussions, because the local authorities in Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois are not going to be able to stop this? It's quite apparent.
Well, I think the president has expressed himself over the last year about his deep concern about the tragic loss of life through violence and gang violence in Chicago, and he expressed that last night before the Congress. We as Americans should recognize that the men and women who serve in uniform of law enforcement are not a force for division. They're the best of us. They deserve the support of the rest of us. So we're also going to look for ways to continue to support law enforcement with the resources and the training that they need to accomplish their mission to protect our families and go home safe to theirs.
Has there been any discussion